forget. Approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes of August the 13th, 2019. Approval of the expenditure vouchers for August the 27th, 2019. Approval of a renewal brew pub liquor license for Wild Edge Brewing. Approval of a renewal liquor license for Turbros LTD doing business as Cork and Bottle. The approval of a special event permit for Amani Youth Partnership to sponsor a First Friday event on Friday, September the 6th, 2019 at Buffalo Bob's Trading Company. The only question I would have is, does anybody know what the Amani Youth Partnership is?
That is a horse therapy,
Okay.
I believe, right? Yeah, because they're having a benefit on Saturday night as well
Okay,
to raise money.
all right. Does anybody want to review any item?
I'd like to remove actually the extra expenditures. So we can discuss that.
Okay.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
She wants to remove the additional expenditures so that we could discuss that prior to the vote. All right, in that case, may I have a motion
I make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
with the exception of the extra expenditures? With the exception of this. You don't need a motion on that. You want this removed?
Yes, I would like that
She wants this
removed.
removed from the consent agenda.
Is this on there?
It's not
It is
in there.
listed as the
It's not in
expenditure
there.
vouchers.
It's the expenditure vouchers of August the 27th, this is it. She wants this removed. Instead of the expenditures being approved, she wants it removed so we can talk about it before we vote on it. So can I have a motion to that effect?
So move.
Second? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Keel.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Betts.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. So-
Okay. I am curious because I noticed that we have a different cover sheet than before. Did this happen at the last meeting and when I wasn't here, or the new expenditures like this?
No, this format is different.
Okay, and so my question is, I see that it says for utility bills only. I know we had talked about with the new CFO about not demonstrating all of the expenditures. My question is, I guess maybe, I don't know who will answer it, but my question is, are we still going to have some sort of synopsis so we know what we're spending from meeting to meeting, aside from this?
You want a total page?
Well, and I think that's where I am a little confused, because we've talked about trying to be able to monitor the individual parts of our budget. And so again, like I said last time, this doesn't really tell me what I'm approving, besides just, oh, okay, there was a cell phone bill. And so what I'm saying is, I know there's additional charges beyond this. We're completely removing that part of approving those expenditures as well? We're only doing utility bills?
No, you didn't get the rest of the sheets?
No, we have the ones that are in our workshop, but normally we have additional items besides just
And
utilities on
those
this.
are all there's no more.
Okay,
I put the law down that, no, these utility bills are being paid as a special check run because we get charged interest if we don't
Okay.
get paid in a timely fashion, and these are coming in too late. But anything else is just timing of the staff to either tell the vendors to get them in, or they're gonna have to wait till the next time, because we're not, if they can't get it in by Thursday or the week before, then they'll just have to wait 2 weeks.
okay, thank you. That definitely clarifies, and I am in favor of that change.
So basically then, will it only be utility bills? In the future, we're not going to have other expenditures
Yes.
to approve at the council?
Unless there's a real emergency that I can get up here and explain to you why it has to be done this way, yes.
Okay, I am definitely in favor of
Is
this.
this the last time for utility bills then as well?
What's that?
Is this the last time for utility sales?
No, utility bills will still,
Okay.
because we can't control when they send the bill.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Okay, now,
I say if no one has any further questions, I'd make a motion to approve the extra expenditure list in the amount of $11,797.60.
Carlson.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Noyes.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Betts. Aye. Sheik.
Aye. All right, we have no presentations. Would anybody in the audience like to address the council? Okay. We have no public hearings, no unfinished business. So we're moving on to new business, which the first item is the addendum to the employment contract for the city manager. We met in an executive session at our last council workshop, and at that time, we went over city manager John Doherty's evaluation, and it was the agreement of council that we would like to give him a 3% increase in his salary, which is standard. That's the average that our merit pay that our staff is garnering. And that translates into $3,180. We agreed to add an additional 1 week of vacation time. The amount that he can accrue over time remains the same. And we also agreed to adjust his contract to allow him, if he decides to leave our employment, he chooses to leave our employment, that rather than requiring that he give us 2 months' notice, that we would require that he give us a minimum of 6 weeks' notice, unless council and the city manager can agree on a lesser amount of time.
Okay.
So at this time, are there any additional questions or comments? And if not, may I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve addendum number 1 to the employment contract with city manager John Doherty.
I second that.
Lucero.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts. Aye. Noyes.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. All right, the next item is a quasi-judicial item that pertains to change of ownership of a retail marijuana store for LiveWell. I'd like to remind council that this is quasi-judicial, so that I would like to ask if anyone on council has discussed this topic with anyone prior to this evening. And if so, at this time, would you please disclose that conversation so that a determination can be made as to whether you should participate in the discussion and vote on this matter. Anyone? No. All right. In that case, we can move forward. Mike and Linda.
Livewell has dispersed some,
Turn your mic on, please.
sorry, sir. Livewell has dispersed percentages of ownership out to, if I recall correctly, employees. And these are small amounts, but again, wanting you guys to know everything that's going on, we're bringing this to your attention. There's no problems with any of the owners, the prospective owners. They've all passed their background checks, et cetera. So we recommend approving this, and that's all.
Are there any questions? Council members?
I have none.
I don't have any.
In that case, may I have a vote?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the change of ownership of a retail marijuana store for Green Kiwi 4 LLC DBD LiveWell, located at 1819 East Main Street, Cortez.
Noyes.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts. Aye. Levy.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. Renewal of the Realtor agreement. John?
We have had the same commercial realtor to sell city property, Ken Williamson, since 2014. His contract expired a year ago, and he has been contacted by another realtor that there's a potential prospect for going into the industrial park, but Mr. Williamson would like his contract re-upped so he can continue working for us.
All right, council, we had a discussion about that. Are there any additional questions or comments? In that case, may I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to renew the Realtor comment for agreement, approving the renewal of the Realty agreement with Ken Williamson.
A second.
Betts,
Aye.
Noyes,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. We have no draft resolutions, no other items of business. At this time, would anybody like to address council in the audience? Okay. There's no city attorney's report. John?
The mayor and I spent all day yesterday in Durango for the second day working on long-range goals for the COG. I think there's a lot of frustration because, again, for this meeting, there was the majority, we did not have a quorum of the board for the COG. We had a lot of input, there was a lot of good discussion, but there's also a lot of concern amongst members that we really need to get better participation, not only from the board members, but also from municipalities and counties who are not participating in the COG. We are in talks with Farmington and some other New Mexico cities, and my recommendation was perhaps we should look at doing a Four Corners where we have a lot of pull federally. If we all pull together and say we represent 4 states and a certain amount of population, along with, we were also talking about contacting the tribes to get them involved in the COG, because we're all in this together, and if we work together, we have a lot stronger voice than each individually. We obviously don't have a lot of pull in any of the capitals. So I believe the consultants were going to come back with what we all decided, and then we will go forward and try and talk with Durango and some of these other ones and see what it would take to get them back in the fold and working with us rather than trying to do things on their own.
Just to kind of add on to what John has said, I'm the chair of that board, and will continue in that capacity until April. I'll be meeting with Glenn Lachtaut, who is La Plata County Commissioner, who is on the executive committee, and Willie Toomey, who's from Silverton. And one of the things that we asked board members to do was to check with their town boards and councils to get some input as far as what those entities would like to see the COG focus on, and several of us did that. You guys gave us some input. So we're going to take all of the ideas that were generated and see which ones that there was the most overlap on, and then develop a list and take that to the next board to see if we can get approvals to the direction that we want to take on some of these additional things. Looking at things like affordable housing, for example. Broadband is still very much in play, but the consensus has been that because it's such a slow-moving project, that probably we ought to be expanding our horizons and looking at some of the issues. One of the things that Commissioner Lachtaut brought to the meeting on Monday, which I think has some potential interest, is perhaps examining the way she phrased it to her commissioners was, what are the things that are causing us the most pain that maybe the COG could help us with? And Tabor and Gallagher were certainly 2 issues which we're all suffering under. So that may be something that will be put on the table too, which is a little different than some of the other things we talked about. So anyway, the COG has got an executive director who wants to do a good job. She just needs some direction, and she's kind of having a problem getting the board to get on board and provide it. So anyway, anything else, John?
That was it.
Okay. Meetings?
Let's see, I went to the Cultural Center board meeting on August 20th. See, the last day for the native dances was August 17th, and the numbers are down slightly because there's less dances this year than last year at this time, and for some reason, there's less European visitors. We haven't quite figured out the reason for that. Anyway, let's see, the Sam Sandoval, the code talker, had 40 attendees, and we generated $300 to $400 from that event. Woodstock Revival Lunch had 26 attendees. The Pride Fest was well attended. See, an upcoming event that's really important is on September 18th, Critical Conversations. The topic is going to be suicide, and the speaker will be Dave Hart. He's a local resident, and he used to be the undersheriff, and he's a very good person to be talking about suicide. It's really an important topic.
What's the
it
date on
affects
that?
all of us.
What's the date on that?
September 18th.
Did you want to talk about Diana?
Yeah, and another event that happened last night here at the City Hall, Diana DeGette, Congresswoman from Colorado, appeared last night, and she gave a talk defending her Colorado Wilderness Bill of 2019, and it was well attended. There's 100 people, or more or less, and she discussed different aspects of this wilderness bill. Also in attendance were various county commissioners. All of the Montezuma County commissioners were there. And there's one county commissioner from Mesa, and I believe another county commissioner from another county.
Mesa County, I think.
Yeah, and she discussed the different wilderness study areas. There's two of them in Montezuma County, the Weber Menifee Mountain Wilderness Area and the Cross Canyon Wilderness Area. And one which was close by is the Dolores River Canyon, so after she gave her presentation, she opened it up for questions, and there's quite a cross-section of people asking questions. You know, there's people for the wilderness bill, and there are people against it, and she gave pretty good answers, well educated. She knew her stuff, and one of the issues was Commissioner Ertel went to Washington, D.C., opposed to this bill, and when they were having a discussion, Commissioner Ertel and Diana DeGette, he said, well, you've never been down to Montezuma County, so you don't know. So she came down for one reason to discuss her wilderness bill, but also to gather information. So she's out there now. She's going to spend 2 days, going through Cross Canyon and Menifee Canyon on horseback and walking and various methods of transportation just to get some more information, so she'll have more input into this bill. And she did a straw vote, and out of the people attended, about 3/4 of them were in favor of the wilderness bill. So it was a good event. It answered a lot of questions, for people, and brought up questions that people weren't even thinking about. So it was a well-attended event.
All right, are there any other meetings anybody went to?
Do you want me to talk about?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want
Now?
to? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this is not a meeting that was one of the city council boards, But I was the spearhead behind the community action meeting that we had at the First National Bank Building last night. This was specifically to address the issues that some of you may be aware of with child protection services in Montezuma County. We recently had an ombudsman's report released. If you're not familiar with the ombudsman, that is basically a watchdog agency empowered through the legislature that's allowed to come in and investigate areas of noncompliance within social services departments with regards to child protection. They do not have any enforcement authority. They are basically an investigate and report type situation. A number of cases had been turned over to them beginning April of 2018, and the final result was that there were over a total of 15 families. There were 67 violations of the law committed by Montezuma County Department of Social Services over those 15 families. Those are the 15 families that we know of that actually came forward and said something. And so, as you probably likely heard me gripe, I'm involved in doing this type of thing in my daily life. I have been very fortunate to grow up here. In fact, my parents were there at the meeting, and I pointed that out, that I did not have the experience that a lot of these people in the system did. That I was 37, and my parents still come to my events, and they were there. But as I started getting involved in this and being a person from this community, I had no idea what some of these people face until I started doing it. And so I have really been frustrated with what I perceive to be a rather adversarial and uncooperative department in the past. And they've had some personnel changes that I really hope will improve things, but we, as there was a group of us, a number of citizens involved in different areas of working with children, either through an agency or through our work or just through a desire to volunteer, that were feeling like we needed to do something. And so we coordinated a meeting to basically get child protection stakeholders from around the community together to say, hey, let's figure out how to fix this and move forward. I was very pleased because in all honesty, I felt like in the past, the response to issues with the county was very dismissive, non-responsive, and we actually had 7 members of the county staff there last night, which made me very happy because I felt like it was the first time they were taking us seriously. Where we left that meeting is we're going to be coordinating and collaborating with all of the agencies to both be able to provide a comprehensive list of volunteer opportunities as well as agency resources. As we just started talking briefly in the meeting, you know, one of the gals from the Opinion Project popped up and said, well, we have this person helping with resumes for adults. And I didn't know that, and I have clients who could benefit from that service. So I said, you know, we have all of the resources here. We just have to figure out and take stock of what we have here so that we can really help the children and families that aren't as fortunate as us sitting here at this table. I think it was a really, really well-attended meeting. I was actually shocked. I thought there would be 10 people, and we had the First National Bank room filled yesterday. And I'd like to thank Councilman Levy and Mayor Sheik. They both were in attendance. But if you have any additional questions about that, there was a Denver Post article. I don't know how many of you saw that. It was a pretty embarrassing article about Montezuma County. And I did mention to Commissioner Candelaria that I felt like, in my opinion, being an outsider, that they have not addressed it. They have not addressed it to the public. And they did mention, well, we mentioned it in a public meeting. And the topic was, well, your public meetings are at Tuesdays at 9. And probably the people who are the subject of this report didn't know that you addressed it, because it looks like you haven't. And so I suggested perhaps a press release, just saying we're aware of this and we're trying to make changes. But I did feel like it was a very positive meeting, and I felt like Lance McDaniel and I both were able to take from that they are committed to improving the situation. They are committed to making changes. They understand it's going to take some time. They understand they've lost some trust. But it's the most optimistic I felt about dealing with the county in quite some time. So I would urge you, if you're interested, we haven't scheduled the next meeting yet because we're going to kind of take stock of who was there. But if you would like an invitation, please shoot me an email or let me know, and I would be happy to make sure you know when the next one occurs. So.
Jill, I was impressed by one issue when you're filling out a FAFSA report for someone you know, and there's a resource that was not aware. You were not aware of it, and and it hasn't been used, in the state for
Not the state, the county.
the county for
Yeah, the
decades.
county. They said they haven't had a referral in 4 or 5 years for the
Right.
program. And it was the McKinney-Vento Act. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. As you probably all know, I had a child living in my home that was not my child. That was a child that was homeless or at risk of homelessness. The way we found out about this resource was I actually called the school with this child because we were concerned about whether or not that she was going to get her financial aid because she doesn't have access to her father's tax information to do a FAFSA. And they were basically saying, well, too bad, you need to utilize your dad's information or you're not going to get financial aid. So I called and called and called and called with her. And finally, someone said the right thing to us and said, you need to check into this act that the school district should have funding for. I did. Luckily, the lady who administers the program was Trina Lee, but she said she was going to go around and train the schools again because she hadn't had any referrals in 4 or 5 years to that program, and it provides funding for backpacks, transportation, clothing, food, and it helps them fill out a form that they can submit to their college of choice so that they never have to utilize their parents' financial data for FAFSA purposes.
great.
And so what ended up happening from there is as soon as I heard about the act, I immediately called the Nest. I called Southwest Open High. I talked to a couple of the counselors I knew, and I had a counselor that was a Friday. On the Tuesday following that, one of the counselors from the middle school contacted me and said, thank you so much for telling me I referred a kid today. So we had 2 referrals to that program in a week, and it was just simply because people forgot about it. And so that's what part of our goal is with this, is to kind of refresh our memories of what resources do these agencies have that we can utilize, because we all know money's tight, but really the money's there if we remember where to get it from.
Yeah, there's other resources out there. that just
Exactly.
haven't been discovered yet.
Yeah, so like I said, I thought it was a really great meeting, and I left there on a high, quite frankly, because it's been 5 long, hard-fought years, so it was good.
My compliments, I think you did a nice job, and the fact that you stuck with it all this time, you're to be commended for that.
Thank you very much, I
Sure.
appreciate
This
that.
community is quite fortunate that you're that dedicated.
Thank you.
Are there any other meetings that anybody's attended? Okay, in that case, very quickly, the workshop, we had a discussion during the workshop on the renewal of the Realtors contract, which we voted on during council. There was a discussion on dividing lots in the industrial park to make them more saleable. An update on the extension of 7th Street. There was quite a lively conversation. 2 of the county commissioners and the county manager attended that meeting and provided input, and we gave a charge to our attorney, Mike Green, to look into the possibility of perhaps ceding that 1,300 feet to the county. Peyton gave us an update on the EV charging station grant, and I'm not sure exactly where we left that. You're gonna go ahead and bring us a contract at the next meeting. So, is there anything else? I would like to, 2 things. If you haven't taken a drive down Linden and looked at the new bed on the west side of Linden, just across from Slavens, please go do that. Mark Boblet and his crew have done a wonderful job. There's a xeric garden there.
Oh, nice.
4 or 5 beautiful trees from David Temple's tree farm. The staff has done an outstanding job. You know, from a bed where we had
It's where
accidentally cut down several mature trees. This is a beautiful.
That's where they took down that really big tree?
Yes,
Okay, cool,
yes,
I'll go
this
check
is
it out.
a beautiful change. And then finally, on a sad note, Will Lindsay's memorial service will be this Saturday. It's at the Elks. John, is that correct? Do we have a time?
No, I don't think it's at the Elks.
I think that it is at the park.
It is, it's not at the Elks.
Right here
At Park DeVita?
Yeah, right here at the,
At the amphitheater?
you're at the
Okay,
amphitheater.
at the
It was,
amphitheater.
Copenhagen's was at the Elks
Elks.
yesterday.
Yes. My apologies, John, I gave you the wrong information this afternoon. Yeah, so I am not going to be in town to be able to attend that, but if any council members are able to do that, I'm sure the family would be most appreciative. I'll make my condolences privately. All right, is there anything else for the good of the city?